Yeah, it's interesting. Like I do have hope. There is small glimpses of hope in there, but when we're constantly met with barriers and legislation and different corporations that put a halt to all the stuff that we think is great, it's really hard to continue finding the confidence. It's really exhausting, to be constantly entrenched in an idea of trauma. I mean, that's our lives. I mean, my job revolves around my trauma. I teach indigenous knowledges, and I take my students back up to that country and share that with them. And so it's a taxing thing to constantly have to talk about and fight. Like, to constantly fight this. I mean, we've been fighting it since 1949, which is when the first detonation happened by Sir William McKell. And from that first detonation, I think that was the start of some of our trauma. But the fight that we have to, go back and the fight we have to fight on country. My whole thesis for my master's will be about the degradation, commercialisation and industrialisation of my country, which is funneled through the idea of the snowy scheme or the snowy hydro scheme. My practice is a way of contesting the ideas that we don't exist in that landscape anymore. Being removed from that landscape means that we aren't physically there, but we are in the idea of a presence. So my thesis talks a lot about the idea of absent presence, and I think about scar trees in that sense. They stand in for us, or trees themselves as ancestors. But more specifically, the idea of a scar tree is that something's been removed, and there's a scar that's left. So something that's gone, but there's something that's still there, and I think that that's a massive part of what my practice is dealing with. I'm really looking at the idea of how my art practice can place us back in that landscape, but also go against or give an alternate narrative to that space. I'm really looking at the idea of using the output of the snowy hydro as a means of medium for my artworks. So the brutalist architecture of the structures, the rock arrangements that I call colonial rock arrangements, which is the walls, but also the electricity. And so the electricity to me is powered by my ancestor, which is the river. The river has been stopped and controlled by the snowy hydro system, and in turn, by damming that river, we actually have to scuba dive to access our cultural sites now. So there's this whole sort of layered history in that space, but I want to sort of take back control of the narrative, and through my art practice, I really want to show a greater audience that, yes, it's dubbed the vision of Australia for some, not for all.
Thank you. Fantastic.